Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Shane Baldwin, the owner of SilverSage ZeroScape in Design. Shane, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's we just said, it's a Monday, but I appreciate you hopping on. And for our listeners, even though we have the same last name, we are not related. We've come to find out. But it was funny when I saw you come in, Shane Baldwin. I was like, "Is this a long lost relative that I don't know about?" Well, Shane, thanks for again hopping on. Like I told you, I love talking to entrepreneurs. So, for people hearing about Silver Sage Xeriscape in design for the first time, give us a quick overview of what you do and who do you serve.
Yeah. So we're based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We kind of serve the Intermountain West here along the Wasatch Front. We specialize in drought tolerant, low water landscaping. So we utilize a lot of hardscapes, native plants, plants that are kind of drought adaptive, and also using uh, kind of irrigation that is appropriate. So drip systems, um, kind of specializing in putting the water right onto the plant. And one of the benefits is it reduces a lot of maintenance. You don't have a lot of weeds and a lot of dispersing water where you don't really need it. So it kind of really is efficient with the water usage.
Okay, and so you're based out of Salt Lake City. Do you have strict water restrictions yearly, or is that kind of the reason that this has become popular? More so because in the West, I mean, I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, I'm in Texas, and so I'm familiar with like drip irrigation and all that. But um, the Xeriscape was I had to look that one up, like what that was. But is it due to water restrictions or
It started becoming popular kind of in the mid '90s. People in Salt Lake, especially, have you know like a lot of places in the United States, they love their lawn, they love their green grass, and they love it, manicured perfectly. And it's taken about 20 years for people to really kind of transition and realize that they need to save water. Unfortunately, a lot of the municipalities and the cities don't require restrictions. There's talk this summer of adding some restrictions, but and we don't even pay the true value of the water around here. It is subsidized, and so I think until people really feel that pinch with the dollar and really see how it's affecting them, the water that they're using, and once they have only so much amount of water they're allowed to use, then they're going to actually start to make the changes. But unfortunately, a lot of that has not come down. I know some of our neighboring states like Arizona and New Mexico, they do have a lot stricter water usages that they have in place. And with the population of Salt Lake and Utah, it's going to be in our future very soon.
yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I think it's becoming really popular here too. We have restrictions almost every summer. Like right now, but we always do water restrictions and only can on water on certain days, depending on your zip code and things like that. We're all relying on lakes, right? If our lakes aren't full, then we start to have water restrictions. And a lot of that's dependent upon spring, and fall when we get a lot of rain. I know you guys, snow melt, right? And
Yeah, yeah, it's
bad
all based on
winter,
the
bad
snowpack.
snowpack this year.
Yeah, yeah, we've had one of our worst years on record in the last hundred plus years of recorded snowpack, and we're really feeling it. And they're talking about restrictions and kind of having people only water on certain days, and really kind of cutting back. So
Sure.
and with the population growth in Utah, they say we're planning on doubling by the 2050s, and so um,
Wow. Yeah.
it's inevitable.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of people moving in too. So let's kind of look back at the beginning of your journey. So when we had chat before, you told me you'd been in the industry 20 plus years, and then you guys started this business in 2016.
Yeah, so I've actually been in the business, yeah, for about 20 years. I worked for another company that did the similar type of work. They started actually in the '90s, mid '90s, and so I kind of learned a lot from them. And so we started in 2016. So 10 years ago in February was our anniversary. So we had a little birthday party for our company.
Cool.
We started our first year as a at home business and had one employee the first year, and now we have a standalone space that we own, and then we have about 10 employees that we have on staff.
Okay. So, how was those first 2 to 3 years in your business? As you smile, as you say that.
Yeah,
Welcome to being a business owner, right?
you don't know what you don't know until you know it. You know, it's one of those things that you make mistakes and you get up and you keep doing what you do and kind of learn and grow from your mistakes. And you look back and you think, wow, I if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now, I probably would not go into business. I would probably run away because you just that ignorance is bliss. It really is when you start a business and not knowing what you're getting into.
Was having dinner with a good friend of mine Saturday, and he is well, it'll be 2 years in July since he bought a business. But yeah, he was just telling he's always been in corporate America. He says it's just way harder than I ever thought it was gonna be. And I said, "Yeah." Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur until it's time to give up the paycheck. That's my new one.
Yeah.
So what do you think's harder than people think, or what's harder than people think about owning a business?
Oh, I think, just, I think it takes a certain personality for sure. I love it. I love being a business owner. I love what I do. I'm passionate about our mission and I'm passionate about landscaping and plants and feeling like I make a difference. And so I think, you know, it doesn't stress me out. Like I can and at the end of the day, I can like kind of let the work go and relax. I think some people have a hard time doing that. They want to be able to punch out from a regular job, and say, okay, I have that separation. When you own your own business, there is no separation. There is, if something happens on the weekend or your vacation, you have to deal with it. And there's definitely been times where I've been on vacation, I've had to, deal with a situation that it was urgent that I had to take care of. So.
Yeah, I say we're really never off, right? When you own a business, you're always on. Yeah, I mean, I've been on lots of vacations where I've had to check in or so forth. I've got a really good team, um, and I can even say, "Hey, I'm going to be off the grid," but if they really need me, they can always catch me. And then I find too that it's even though I say I'm not going to check emails this or that, I may still they come in on the phone, it's kinda hard not to look at them. So I have I have learned try to not look at emails on Sundays. I don't wanna see something bad, but,
Yeah.
but still, yeah, it's you're never really off. I'm curious, so you're 10 years in, happy birthday, happy anniversary.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's been the most rewarding part of building your own company or building something you own, I should say?
Um, yeah, it's a growth. It's kind of seeing where we started and where we are now and kind of where we want to go. I think that's the biggest reward is and I feel like with our business specifically, we are very mission driven. We're very um focused on what we bring and what we do, and that we have some people ask us to do some types of landscaping, install a bunch of lawn or overhead spray, and we just say we don't do that. There's people that do it a lot better and they can do it for cheaper. And so I feel like we really stick behind our mission and what we're doing. And I think it pays off in the long run. We definitely have turned away business and jobs, but I think it has brought us business and jobs too by staying true to kind of who we are and not being kind of everything to everybody. I think that's where you kind of dilute yourself in a business.
Yeah, we learned that in the digital world. Like I told you, we're a digital marketing,
Yeah.
and, we tried to be everything to everybody, years ago and learned real quick. Doesn't really it's a tough thing to do, right? Especially in the internet world. So, for example, we don't do any kinda e-commerce marketing. We did it. We didn't really like it.
Hmm.
We feel like we were the best at it. So, if we get leads for e-commerce, I won't say all the time, but when we do, just tell them that's not our, that's not what we do. But got a couple of good referrals I can always point them to. So
Yeah, I think that's the best you can do, and I think it shows your integrity and your respect to actually point them in the right
yeah,
direction, and not just ghost them. I think that's what we try to do is just still have that integrity.
that's a great point you made there too. Is to I think you gain respect by saying no and not to business or opportunities, as opposed to I know we can't do that, but we need some cash. So I'm going to say yes, knowing that, could be a bad experience. Or in the digital, what's what give digital agencies really a bad name is they know they over deliver or over promise, under deliver, or saying yes to projects where they really have no reason saying yes and just to try to make some quick cash. And when you tell people, hey, I can't do that for you, but here's who I'd recommend. No, I think when they do have a project that fits what you do, they remember you. I think it comes back tenfold. So good point to point out there for any young business owners. One last question kind of on the past. I'm just curious, and we'll move on about your um, looking back, what did your one Shane not know that your 10 Shane knows now? If you could think of one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned early on is valuing our time and our expertise. I think when you first start a business, you're so gung ho on just getting the jobs, getting the paycheck, and we gave away a lot of stuff. We would give away our consultations and our designs, and people would walk away, and we had not received any payment. We were The system that we had and the process that we had was they didn't pay us until they actually hired us to do a job, and after we'd already made a design with them, met with them for hours, done all this work. Spent months with working with them, and then they would just say, we're going someplace else, or we're not interested. And so we had to kind of sit back and evaluate our whole process, and value our time and our expertise, and say, okay, we're going to charge for our consultations, we're going to charge for our designs up front, we're going to charge for everything. So every step along the way, they have to pay for our time and our expertise. And it was hard because it was scary thinking that we might lose customers, or they might go to somebody who offers those things for free. But in the long run, I think it shows value, and it shows that we value ourselves and we value the product that we give.
Yeah, and there's some great points in there. A lot of stuff resonated with me because we were, so I like talk entrepreneurs, two different businesses, but I think that's the second thing you brought up or third that I'm like right there with you. So years ago, we gave way too much of our time too, and undercharged or didn't charge, just didn't have full pricing for all that we were providing or expertise. Um, it's funny, I look back at some of our minimum pricing and it's like we were basically working for free. So, um, and I came from the print world and marketing, so digital was definitely different. But yes, I agree with all of that, and I do. It's a value up front that hey, you know, can't give you what we can't work for free or give you our expertise for free. I mean, there is a value there. You come to us. So, and it's scary because you're afraid it may cause sales or opportunities to do business. But what we have found is we've had very, very little pushback at all with any of these services we're charging for or pricing going up. Did you have did you have much pushback when you finally said, okay, hey, I don't care if they don't hire us or not. We're gonna tell them this is what we're charging.
A little bit. We had, a couple people say, why should I pay to have you come and meet with me to tell me how much you're going to charge me? But we spend quite a bit of time with them when we first meet with them in a consultation, and they pay for that time, that hour plus the drive time for us to be there. And we'll usually send two people onto the site and go over everything. We give them a lot of advice, and then at the end we give them kind of a base map of their property that outlines everything we discussed and all the options that they have. And so there is something tangible that they're receiving from that. And we did have some people kind of pushing back, but overall, I think it helped weed out a lot of people who really were not interested in hiring us. They just wanted to see what they could get for free, and so it kind of helped kind of sort those people out of the mix. Where I would show up to a job consultation, and people would immediately get out of the car, and they would say, Yeah, I have this dream of what I want, but I really can't afford it. And so I thought, what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time. I'm spending this time with you and I haven't charged you for anything. And you've just basically told me you can't afford anything. And so
Yeah.
it came to the point where we were doing that more and more and realized that we were giving away a lot of stuff that we needed to kind of figure out how to do it differently.
Well, yeah, kudos to just saying, "Hey, we have great value and we need to make sure we're getting charged for it." Because people will, they'll take advantage of you, right? And they will definitely knowing, just hoping that you will share and give them ideas and so forth, and may go down the street and find somebody else. So
Yeah.
you guys, let's shift gears a little bit. You just celebrated 10 years, right? And you've obviously built your crew up. So 10 years in, what does a high performing team in landscaping look like to you now?
Yeah, I think there is definitely kind of that consistent work of kind of creating that culture within our business that everybody respects each other, everybody appreciates what each person brings to the table. We definitely hire people that have um, certain skills or different things that they can plug into as far as how we operate. I have people that are specializing in irrigation. I have people that specialize in welding, some fabrication, carpentry work, management, having management skills. And so having different people that can kind of bring those skills. And there's a lot of things as far as how we do things in our process that I can train and teach people that. But having those things and then having that passion, I want people who are really passionate about what we do and get what we do. I tell people I can hire somebody who can dig holes and just show up, but I want somebody who comes and they're excited and they're passionate about what they're doing. Um, and then really bring that energy.
Sure. How do you keep your team and motivated during the busy season? Because I know you guys are landscapers across the country are getting are seasons here, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you keep them motivated when you guys are going 100 miles an hour?
Yeah. We work 4 10-hour days, so we do long days. I think what we try to do is just little perks and just little things that show that we value them. Having them be able to, in our morning meetings, kind of come together and discuss what we did right the day before, what needs to be done, and really plug into the process of um, what needs to be done. So it's not just one person, from above that's telling them what to do. I want input from everybody, and everybody has kind of the value of what they see or what they bring to the table. We might not always use their idea, and I tell them that I say, I want to hear it, but I might have tried that already, and I know it might not work, or somebody else might not know that that doesn't work, and so we want to make sure that they that they're even if their idea doesn't get taken, that they're still valued. And then also we have like a big freezer here full of popsicles and ice cream, and
I like
so
that.
yeah, and then we keep them fed with snacks and treats, and so we have a big huge bin of snacks. So if they show up to work and they didn't have time to like make a big lunch, they can grab a bunch of things with them and drinks and stuff. So those little things I think really add up and really help kind of with the energy and giving people feel like they're supported.
Sure. You mentioned you guys, if I heard you right, you work 10-hour days. So
Yeah, we
does
work
it
Monday through Thursday, which I think is also a perk because then they get 3-day weekends. And we're not one of those landscape companies that are like the last minute, hey, will you come in on Friday or will you come in on Saturday? We respect people's time. They work hard. We want to make sure that they actually have time off. And so you know, if for some reason, like today it's raining, and so I told my crew not to come in, but Friday's supposed to be nice. So we give us an option. If you want to come in on Friday and make up your days, you can, but it's not mandatory. So if they already have something planned for the weekend or on Friday, they can decide on their own if they want to come in or not.
I love the 3-day weekend. I don't know, this is probably my 25th or so podcast. Nobody's working the 4-day week. I like that, especially, in the landscape industry where when peak season hits, I mean, you guys can get really booked out and busy, but you're just staying true to that schedule, it sounds like, and making sure your projects are all planned. We're gonna work long days, but hey, you're gonna have a 3-day holiday. That's really unique. I just in this industry, I just typically don't hear that. So has that been the case for ever, or is that something new you started recently? Or
No, I worked for another my landscaping company I worked for before. They did that, and they really respected the crew's time, and I just thought, what a great way to run a business. It shows that we value their work, but we also value them to have time off so that they can, because it is exhausting work, and to have that time to recoup and to you know, be healthy and have time with their family and their their time on their own to be able to do what they want. That work life balance is really important.
yeah, no, I agree. It makes me think, could we pull that off? Uh, so yeah, I think I want the 3-day weekend.
Right.
It's what's interesting there. The company you work for did that, so you were already experiencing that and probably really liked it.
Hmm.
So I don't want to give that up. So let's just make it. You saw how it worked, and so no, I like that. Before I started my own business, I mean, I did. There's a lot of things I liked that what I was doing before that we brought to the table, and then we
Hmm.
just try to tweak it. So good job. You just stole a really good idea and made it your own as well.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned. I'll talk a little about your industry, about Xeriscape, but I know a lot of people hear that word, including me. Let me raise my hand, but maybe don't fully understand it. I know you talked about this in the introduction, but just if you could just explain it in simple terms, exactly what that is when we mention Xeriscape.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a process of landscaping that incorporates different principles as far as water saving. So it was developed in the 80s in Denver through their water municipality. They kind of coined the term xeriscaping, and in xeric is kind of meaning low water or no water, and then scaping, of course, is coined from landscaping. And so they kind of brought that together to um, it's basically the right plants and choosing like drought tolerant native plants, using mulch so that you're actually kind of cooling the soil, like 3 to 4 inches of mulch. And that also helps with weed control and retains moisture in the soil, using a drip system so that you're putting water right on the plant and not dispersing it with overhead spray. That's kind of usually you get overspray onto the sidewalks and it's running down the gutter, things like that. Um, and then also when you're looking at your property or the space that you're using, you're kind of looking at microclimates. So, planting accordingly based on, the hot side of the house versus the cool side of the house, things like that.
So people that may think, okay, low water landscaping means boring landscape. Why? Why is that wrong? Because I know
It,
you do beautiful work, but I can see the corner. Well, if I can't water, it's probably going to be like not very pretty or boring. But why would that be wrong?
it's actually the opposite. If you have a lot of people think lawns, they want that green, pristine, freshly mowed lawn. It doesn't encourage any kind of habitat for any wildlife, pollinators, birds, bees, things like that. So when we bring in plants, we have things that are blooming spring, summer, fall. We have things that have winter interest, like grasses, ornamental grasses that you can keep up in the winter. Also, rocks and boulders that kind of bring that winter interest. And so there's an ongoing movement of color throughout the season and wildlife. As soon as we bring plants in, we'll bring them in ready to plant that day. And they're sitting kind of by the trailer, by the truck. And immediately you're seeing bees and butterflies and all kinds of hummingbirds. They're already gravitated towards that. Where with the lawn, all that really serves is earthworms and people because those are the only people that are utilizing the lawn.
Yeah, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So, do you guys do a lot of conversions? Meaning converting from like a traditional lawn to this more xeriscape landscaping? I mean,
Yeah, that's primarily what we do. Here in Salt Lake City, there are older neighborhoods, 50 plus years old, and so they're 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 a little bit more standard. lawn types of landscaping with like a perimeter bed maybe around the house. And so we'll end up taking pretty much all the lawn out. If they have like a pet needs or kid needs, we'll usually keep about 20% lawn. We'll maybe do like a little bean shape or an oval in the backyard, something that's more functional for outdoor use for the lawn. And then we'll bring in pathways and hardscapes, different types of living zones, and then different types of plants.
Okay. So is your business primarily residential or do you do some commercial as well?
Yeah, we pretty much stayed in the residential. We've had quite a bit of inquiries through commercial, but it's a whole nother type of process. They generally want you to come in. You're usually working with other contractors, either a building contractor or other other companies that are kind of doing different things at the same time. And then the payment schedules are usually a lot different. You usually don't get paid till 6 months to a year after you've actually done it. And so we've tried to avoid kind of changing our process to kind of meet that process because we really like how we have it set up with our payment schedules with residential and also just the timeline of how we can do things. A lot of times they have their timeline they want us to work with. And so I think we would have to really adapt and kind of change to meet the needs of a commercial project.
Okay. So yeah, the whole commercial deal, the pay is a little bit different, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
they pay you, but it's just not like residential. So
Yeah.
cash flow is still important. I don't care how long you've been in business, right? You still need to
Yeah.
have
Exactly.
predictable cash flow. So let's jump into a little bit about marketing. I'm a marketer. I'm just curious, what all are you guys doing to generate new leads on the
Yeah.
marketing front?
So when we first started, we kind of like threw up a website and just kind of went for it. We did very little marketing. We had some referrals from some other landscape designers who would kind of refer us to install their designs, which was really helpful in the first couple of years. Now we primarily do all of our own design work and installations. We just don't have the bandwidth to take on other people's designs. So we have in-house designers, which is great. Just recently, about a year ago, we revamped our whole website. Um, and kind of updated all of our SEO, and so that's been really helpful. Another thing that we've done recently is kind of targeting our demographic. So we definitely have a client who is kind of more environmental conscious. They're looking to kind of make a change in their immediate landscaping and their environment. And so we're kind of looking at specialized media through nonprofit public radio stations, some different publications around here that kind of specialize in environmental causes and concerns. And then some of Utah's the the local governments and the municipalities have been doing rebate and reward programs to kind of change your landscaping to water-wise landscaping, and so that's been huge for us. I got certified as a qualified water efficient landscaper. And so that sets me into a list that they provide to people who are looking for somebody to install this type of landscaping. So we've kind of taken the steps to get certified and have different things on our website that kind of make us stand out.
When it comes to your website, you mentioned SEO, so search engine optimization. How is your lead flow off of Google from that organic channel?
Uh, that's a good question. I'm not a marketing person, and so I definitely don't keep up on it. We have somebody who kind of monitors it, and they kind of report to us every. They wanted to report to us every month, and I said I don't really have the time to meet every month, and so it's been about every quarter to every 6 months. So I'm not really sure. Uh,
Is is that an agency you guys use, or is this someone in house? Or
yeah, yeah, it's an agency. They built our website, and then
okay,
they kind of maintain it for us. Um,
I got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I got you. Any pain points that you can share with us when dealing with other agencies? I don't know. Did y'all use an agency before this one, or I'm just always curious. I tell people, look, I know I'm in the industry. You're not going to hurt my feelings, but um, I'm always curious to hear just pain points or things you might have experienced that were not positive and trying to get your digital marketing going?
Yeah. You know, as far as our social, we're kind of dead in the water. I would love to have somebody who could manage our social and kind of help us in that realm because we have very few followers and we were just not consistent. And you know, I think it'd be nice to have something that's a little bit more streamlined and more organized and kind of really highlighted our brand and our mission. Um, you know, the website process when we had that rebuilt a year ago, they did a really good job as far as getting feedback and kind of the you know the steps that we took to kind of put that together. The finished product, I think, could be cleaned up a little bit. Um, but what's nice about that is I think we have some time to kind of tweak it and kind of work with it.
Sure. When you talk about social media, are you referring to like ongoing, just consistent posting where you're posting on, you know, Facebook, Instagram, those type of channel? Okay. And so to where, yeah, we call it social media evidence, is kind of how we term it. Yes, you want to develop followers, and have a consistent message, but also it just shows that, hey, you're active too, right? That's where the evidence, social media proof, right? That if someone does go on your page, you've got consistent activity versus like, man, these guys haven't posted in like 3 years. Are they? Is
Yeah,
that going to be kind of how they are? Like, are they going to show up? Not show up? I mean, you never know what someone's going to think. So even just having a consistent cadence in messaging and branding, I think, can be very, very powerful. And just when people do come across or find you or see you, that I think that resonates. That you guys are on top of it and care about your brand and so forth. Um, when you mentioned one thing too, I might mention as far as, um, we always tell guys, advertisers, clients, it's really important to be able to know what leads are coming in.
mhm,
Then also, did we close them, right? So you have a paint the ROI picture, as we say, because all these years I've been doing marketing 20 plus years, and I've heard it once a million times. Todd, I just, we can just have our marketing pay for itself, we'll be happy. And I'm like, no, that's not the goal. We don't want to just break even, right? We're hard earned money. We want to make money. We want to have a positive ROI, right? And so hopefully they're sending you leads or some sort of not just a blanket report that it's got a bunch of data, doesn't make sense, but really to me, yes, there's metrics about, are we ranking? There's the traffic up. Those are all positive. But at the end of the day, how many leads am I getting? Are they quality leads? And are we converting? Are they my ideal client? Because once a client realizes without a shadow of doubt that they are getting a return and here's what the return is, that's really the key we have found to keeping guys for a really long time, which is what our goal's always been, to develop partnerships. Obviously, you want to give them great service. We're huge on service and we're huge on transparency. So my experience is I always tell people, make sure your agency is very transparent, you know exactly what they're doing, and that they are sending you some sort of lead report,
mm,
because they should be able to tell you exactly this came from organic or this came from, if you're doing paid ads on Google or Facebook. So,
yeah.
but interesting points there. I hear a lot of that. It sounds like you haven't gone through anything traumatic, or maybe you're being nice, meaning, yeah, this agency was great when they signed us up and then they just disappeared. And, I hear a lot of that. And it's really given our industry a bad name, just because people way over promise and under deliver and charge, trying to make a quick dollar.
Yeah.
Um, any marketing tips you could give to a young landscaper out there trying to get started? Anything to maybe they should watch out for? Don't do this, but maybe do this.
I think sitting down and getting you know, a marketing plan set up when you first start would be important, at least to have an idea of what the options are. And, you know, if you don't implement them right away, I think it still gives you kind of a roadmap of what you can implement over time, you know, the first few years and um kind of go from there.
Yeah, we're working with some really they're college kids, and I don't know if they're going to go back and to their next year because they're having so much success with their landscaping business. But my big encouragement to them was um, don't overdo it. Don't overspend at this stage. You don't need to. You're growing this business really well organically. Let's get a really solid foundation in place with some base packages. Make sure everything's done properly, and then we can talk about maybe spending money on campaigns and to where we're actually doing work monthly, weekly to try to generate leads. So don't overextend yourself, right? It's you got plenty of time to do that, especially in a young business. So as we look into 2026, we are almost a third of the way through this year, which is hard to believe. What are you excited about? What excites you going forward? And not only rest this year, but as you look into the next 2 or 3 years down the road.
Uh, well, unfortunately, because of the population growth and kind of water concerns, you know, it's good for business, but then it's not necessarily good for living here. Water restrictions and all that. But I think we're in a place and a time right now where we're seeing growth, and we're going to see continued growth with our business and our industry. Um, and so I'm excited for that. I think just bringing on new things every year. We try to tackle kind of a new kind of project or new kind of product that we can implement into kind of what we do. Just to add a little bit of excitement, offer a new type of service, and so that's always exciting for me to try something and learn something new.
What makes your company the trusted expert in Xeriscape and design and installation compared to your competitors out there?
Yeah, I think, like I said, being a company that stays true to their mission and what we do, we give excellent customer service. You know, um, we like to communicate and over communicate so that we don't have any understandings with our clients, with our crew, with kind of everybody we work with, our vendors. We want to make sure that if there is a question, we're following up with the answers, and we're following up with feedback on how that's working. I think that's really important. There's especially in the contractor world. Uh, Everybody has kind of like a horror story of their experience that they had with some contractor that didn't do them right, or didn't finish the project, or disappeared on them. And so we have kind of uh, a long hill that we have to climb to kind of meet people's expectations, because they're already kind of coming to us worried or scared that we're gonna do something wrong to them, and ghost them or overcharge them or whatever. And so we try to have to overcompensate for that.
It sounds like the landscape industry might have a little bit of what the digital marketing industry does, in the fact that there's some bad apples out there. And
Yes.
you might have heard, like I have, "Hey, Shane, this all sounds great, but the last company we worked with said all the same things or promised all the same things, and then they quit showing up or this or that." Do you find that? I mean, do you come across that often when talking to new leads or new opportunities?
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, almost
Yeah.
every year. And sometimes they'll position themselves or try to position themselves in kind of the authority, or they want it done their way and their timeline, and we have to say, well, this is where we're at, this is how we do it. And it's to help us as much as it's to help them, so that they know and they have expectations, so that we're not telling them, "Oh, we'll be there next week," when really we're gonna be there in 2 months. We wanna make sure that we're honest and we're open about where we're at and what we can do and what we can accomplish, and then let them make the decision how they wanna move forward.
Right, right. S No, it's we hear it all the time. There's just, sounds great, Todd, but last cat said the same thing. So what makes Everyday Media Group, the name of our agency, what makes y'all different? So going through that process, and then eventually hope to get that opportunity to prove that, hey, we'll back up what we say. So um well, let's kind of go towards wrapping this up. I got a couple of questions off topic for you that's I've been asking my guest of late. Do you have any I don't know if you listen to podcasts. If you do, is there any podcasts out there that you like that you could share? If not, maybe a book that you've read recently that you like? Anything you can share with us, it could be related to anything. It could be business, could be personal, it could be family, anything out there that you could share?
Yeah, I'm actually listening to an audiobook right now, Braiding Sweetgrass, and it's written by a Native American woman. She grew up kind of in the Midwest, and it just talks about our connection to the environment, our connection to the planet, and showing respect to the planet. you know, having that thankfulness and gratefulness to what we take and what we give back, and that kind of what you and not just always taking, so it's a really powerful book, and I think it's been out for a while, and so I'm about halfway through that. I'm really enjoying that. As far as podcasts, I primarily listen to um, more like comedy, lighthearted kind of stuff, things that kind of take me out of the everyday, things that kind of make me laugh or giggle, things like that.
Yeah, just kind of give you a release from the brain of always thinking about work and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
Do you have any one-liners or quotes that you could share? I'll give you an example. One I've used forever is the truth requires no memory. Um, my stepmom, like a second mom, told me that years and years ago. I don't know if I was trying to not tell the truth when she told me that, but I've always liked that. I've always resonated with it because as long as you're speaking the truth, you don't have to remember what you told somebody, right? So the truth
Yeah.
requires no memory has always been a powerful one for me. Anything that's you use or like or have on the wall that you could share?
One thing I kind of tell my crew to kind of keep them motivated, because one of the things you never want to see when you pull up to a job site is your crew members like leaning against the tools, just chatting and hanging out.
Sure.
And so I tell them, if you don't know what to do, when in doubt, rake it out. Pick up a rake and just start raking, because there's always raking to be done. There's always like contouring the ground and moving dirt around. So even if you don't know what to do, just pick up a rake and start raking. It looks good. It looks like you're busy, and you are actually getting something done, as opposed to just standing there leaning on your tool.
I like that. I haven't heard of that one either. So I'm compiling a list of all these. I don't know what
When
I'm
in
going to do
doubt,
with it.
rake it out.
When in doubt, rake it out. Reminds me of a very good friend of ours. He owns like 20 McDonald's franchises. And so really successful, great story, came from another country. He's only worked for McDonald's his whole life. Um, but um, his big deal was for years, his wife told me if she heard it once, it's talking about his employees and stuff. She's heard it a million times, but that was if you can lean, like lean up against the wall, if you can lean, you can clean. And he said, he has the cleanest McDonald's restaurants in the country. Like you could eat off the floor. But when you said that, when in doubt, rake it out, it made me think of if you can lean, you can clean.
I like that.
So anyway, see, just something a little off the work topic. So hey, it's been great visiting with you, man. Last question I always ask, because there's a young Shane Baldwin out there and he wants to start his own business. And maybe he's looking at landscaping. What advice would you give someone? Someone young came to you as a mentor or so forth. Hey, Shane, can you give me some advice? I really want to start this. What should I do? How should I start? What would your advice be?
Well, hopefully they have some experience with the industry so that they kind of know what they're getting themselves into, but kind of get the ins and outs of what works, doesn't work. As much as knowing and being oriented to what works, you also have to look at, what do I not want to do? I've worked for a lot of people that think I'm not doing that, and that's totally wrong. That's not the right way to do it. And so I think, as much as you're kind of focused on how, the right way of doing things, you also want to look at the wrong way of doing things, and try to steer away from those. And because I think there's a lot of bad business owners out there that are doing it the wrong way. They're leading with a heavy hand, or they're just, they're not fully engaged with their daily operations, and then they show up and things are falling apart. So I think to really be successful, you have to kind of look at all the aspects of your business, and be able to grow with and change. You can't be one of those business owners says, I've done it for this way my whole life, and this is the way I always do it, because you're going to get left behind as the industry changes. You got to be willing to kind of evolve as things change, especially in technology, and technology changes. You have to kind of be willing to say, I don't know how to do this, and I'll find somebody that does, and be able to evolve with that.
Yeah, those are great points. We're going through a big shift right now. I mean, we are with AI and not only our clients are getting leads from AI, which is cool. We're getting them, but really just using AI and big shift in a lot of our processes and workflows. And so yeah, we're going through some big changes, and the easier path is well, let's keep it the same, but keep the same, we're gonna get left behind. So we need to utilize it in our world just to speed up a lot of things in the delivery that we do by using this thing called AI. So it's
Yeah.
not going away. So we're like we better embrace it. Is there anything you're doing with AI in your business? Speaking of AI, before we hop off,
Um, no, not much. Just a little bit with correspondence and a little bit with we haven't done much with our processes as far as evaluating those. We probably should. We probably should look and see if we can streamline some of the things, our processes with AI.
good thing about your business is AI is not going to go out and put in new rip out a lawn or or put in new uh plants and so
Yeah.
forth. In our world, now it's like, hey, how do I get found on ChatGPT or how does my business show up? So we are kind of forced to dive in, but that's fine. We're just looking at it as a big opportunity versus the opposite. Why be scared?
Exactly.
Let's just hit it head on and figure out how to give value there in these other channels. Google's not going away. I heard someone tell me Google, like SEO's just going to go away. I'm like, Google's not going away. They're not going to disappear. They have way too much money. They have their AI, Gemini and AI overviews and that you see now on Google. But I do love that there's now platforms that have got their attention because for years they were monopoly. They're like the old Yellow Pages, the old, back in the day when there was one phone book in a city. And so, um, companies like Microsoft who own Bing, Microsoft prints money. That engine can never compete. So with these AIs, I do love that it's given them something to think about because Google is can be very challenging and I won't go off on my Google rant, but it can just be very challenging, not only for us but for business owners. Every business owner gets frustrated with them because of how they shuffle the
Yeah.
deck and your organic rankings can change. And if you've ever done paid ads, how come the price just goes up and up? And so we don't have any competition. You can do things like that. So
True.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sure if you were the only one doing Xeriscape in Salt Lake City, you could charge a lot more too, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's what we've been dealing with. So anyway, I got way off topic there, but
No
that
problem.
thing that excites me because I love just to see more players come in. I think the advertiser and the business owners will win, having more options to figure out how to find new business, generate new leads when people are actually looking for your services. So
Yeah.
Shane, thanks for hopping on. I'm glad we were able to connect and do this show. I can't thank you enough. For all of our listeners that would like to reach out to find you and talk to you and how to transition their lawns, what's the best way to find SilverSage ZeroScape and design?
They go to our website, SilverSageZeroScape.com.
And if they're wanting to reach out to you, is there any contact info you'd be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I mean, you can email me directly at Shane at SilverSageZeroScape.com, or you can go to our website and there's phone numbers and um, you can inquire through there.
Awesome. And just to follow up, any listeners interested in talking about digital marketing, you can always find us at everydaymediagroup.com. Shane, it's Monday. We got through a Monday, did a podcast. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I'd love to stay in contact with you too. And thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you much, Todd. Appreciate it.
You bet.